Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well. Welcome to my Ask James stream. For the benefit of the audio listeners, you probably know me by now. My name is James, one half of the Planet FPL podcast, and this is my regular stream that I do on YouTube every week, where I invite questions from the YouTube audience, and I will cover anything football related that comes into them. Before I start, a shout out. You probably won't watch this, and probably many of his mates won't as well, but someone will give him the message. So have a look at this little one. Thank you very much to Luke, Disable at FF Scout _ Luke from Fantasy Football Scout, and the Discord friends and the Championship Manager chat on these regular streams, who have sent me this brilliant mug from the scenes moment where Tottenham scored a last-minute winner at Arsenal in game week 15 of the Championship Manager simulation. The greatest moment of my time doing the sims for those guys. We have, for the Championship Manager guys, 8 game weeks to go, I believe, and really looking forward to the final run-in of that. Right, let's see who's in the YouTube chat. Joe Finney-Badder's in. Hello, Joe. Nick Griffith. Hello, guys. Chris says, afternoon, James. Thoughts on Emi Martinez and whether he'll get the shirt over Leno once he's back? I'm a Reading fan, and Emi single-handedly kept us up last season while on loan. Superb goalkeeper. He's done very, very well, hasn't he? Fair dues. I mean, this is why I've been very critical of Gazzaniga, right? And people say, oh, you're a bit harsh on him, James, to be honest. I'm like, no. This is not what a Premier League #2 goalkeeper should look like. Martinez is what, for a side in the top half, a Premier League #2 goalkeeper should look like. These guys are paid good wages to come in for 4 or 5 games a season and look the absolute bollocks. And to be fair to him, he's done well. Do you know what I really like about him? He tries to hold everything. It's not common in many goalkeepers, and you might say conditions of most games at the moment is dry, temperature in terms of grass is not as wet. These little things help in terms of catching the ball regularly. So if we do that in November when it's pissing down and windy, might be completely different, for example. But he looks a really solid goalkeeper. I would say to the extent that a few clubs would be very interested in him, that a few other Premier League clubs would look at him and think, oh, do you know what? He could come and be our #1, because he's definitely better. If you take someone like Palace, like Gator has good days, but he has erratic days. He's the sort of guy I can imagine someone like Palace would look at, but he probably wouldn't actually be cheap. Leno would come back in. Fairly certain of that. But yeah, Martinez has really impressed. He's been very, very good. If I was overly critical, you could say that perhaps he should come through bodies for Alderweireld's goal on Sunday. But actually, in fairness, the corner, and Spurs corners aren't very often good, was precision perfect in terms of that area of uncertainty at around about 8 yards from goal. Makes it very difficult for a goalkeeper. And he would have to come past players who are marking zonal areas. So I think that's probably overly critical. But nah, he's done very well. I mean, look, he's nearly dropped his fine lines. He's nearly dropped a complete clanger at the start of that game last night when Firmino closes him down and it hits the post. But he's done very, very well. Arsenal have a very good backup goalkeeper there. One of the best in the league, actually. But I would imagine that, yeah, I think Leno has had a good season. If you ask most Arsenal fans, they'll tell you Leno's their second best player. So I would imagine that Leno will come back in. But obviously, that's for next season. Jack Wilson says, hey, James, keep Giroud after Liverpool. Dreadful performance, or sell. Who for if sell, Aubameyang would, etc. Flip it on its head, right? Liverpool last night won, not good. Let's be clear about that. But Arsenal had 3 chances in the game, and only one of them was through Arsenal's own creation, which was the Willock chance at the end. I mean, full credit to Lacazette, especially on both goals, and Nelson's movement's great for the winning goal as well. But they've given away in the first 90 minutes of that game only 2 chances, and both through slack defensive errors. Arsenal, against the better sides at the moment, one of the best pressing teams in the country. Actually, to be fair, Tottenham dealt with their pressing quite well on Sunday. They press at the right times, Arsenal. They're really, really improving at it. We're not talking to Southampton's levels of intensity, but they're getting better at it. That's what they're being coached to do. Giroud's not going to do that. I'm not sure that Pulisic and Willian, assuming that's the front three, are going to go and press Liverpool in the same way. I expect them to retreat and then try and break on Liverpool at different times. So, look, what's the upside of Giroud? Can he score a goal against Liverpool? Yeah, of course. Anyone can score a goal in a Premier League game at any time. But you mentioned they're getting Aubameyang or Wood. Very different price points, Jack. So obviously, don't really know what you can or can't afford there. But I mean, if you can afford to go to Aubameyang in one move, I really wouldn't hesitate about that with Villa and Watford, the last two, particularly if you haven't got, say, the free hit chip left remaining. I really like Chris Wood as a cheaper shout. Norwich and Brighton in his last two. And if it's just the 1 week, then, you know, Raul Jimenez, for example, against Palace, Danny Ings against Bournemouth. Plenty of better options than Olivier Giroud. It's one of the reasons I didn't go into Chelsea, is knowing that realistically, once you start looking at the fixtures for 37, you go, oh, shit, I want to get rid of these guys. Even though, yeah, all right, Liverpool aren't in the best state at the moment. Motivation is obviously a clear problem for them. They'll be up for Wednesday. They know they're getting that trophy after the game. They're not going to want to lift that trophy after getting beat. Be absolutely certain of that. And I'd be very, very confident that they'll beat Chelsea next Wednesday. Alan McDaddy's in, Jeff Holt, Teddy Mungoya, Paul H. Hello, guys. Thank you very much for joining in the chat this afternoon. We've got H. Ballot 11, replacement for Charlie Taylor, James. Live 4 in Dubai 2021. I can tell you that Such is doing a weekend in Brighton shortly, which he was asking for some advice on good hotels on our Patreon Slack channel yesterday. And I just said to him in front of everybody, while you're there, mate, check out some venues for Planet FPL Live 4, because I think Brighton is a great shout for that. Really want to go south, I think, for the next one. It might be the next one's in London, where when we think it's safe, we'll get people together again. But I really like Brighton as an idea, actually, because it's very easy, even for the London guys, come down for a day or stay the night in Brighton or something. We'll have a brilliant time. On replacements for Charlie Taylor, that's a tough one. I would be very tempted with that, mate. Just go straight to Peters or Bardsley at the money. That's probably must have been part of your thinking with Charlie Taylor, unless you've had him for a very long time. That Burnley's last 2 games, as I've just previously mentioned to it about Chris Wood, are very good. Norwich haven't scored in the Premier League since the restart. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blanks for Norwich. 7 fucking blanks in a row. I think I'd just go sideways, mate. I'd literally just go to Peters or Bardsley. Affordable. Peters will cover at left back if Taylor's out, and I assume he probably will be. Bardsley, he doesn't change a team that's doing well. Sean Dyche should expect Barnsley to continue playing at right back. So it's boring, mate, but that's probably what I would do. Georgie Jurich is in. Hello. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, cheers. It was a good present, wasn't it? Good afternoon, Dominic Jervis. Good afternoon, Gary Shepherd. Nice mug. Nice mug for a mug, eh? Cool stuff. Jeff Holt, hey, James, can you quickly put together a London 11 best? Okay, I don't mind that. That's not too bad. Actually, I've missed a couple of questions. I'll come back to that one, Jeff. FPL Zag, Lord Linden. So fucking weird. Good to see you, mate. Glad to see Aurea start, but I fear he won't play game week 37 and 38. God bless. I mean, fair game to Serge Aurier. Massive, massive credit. I couldn't believe that he was in the team. And Mourinho said it would be his choice. And I 100% believe that. Nobody at Tottenham has pressured him to play. I don't even think Mourinho is that cold. I think it's just a choice of, it would have been a very simple question. What do you want to do? Do you want to play or do you want to go to France? My understanding is that he's gone to France today. To obviously sort out what needs to be done. I don't know when the funeral, I mean, funeral Sunday or something. You have no idea, do you? You're not probably going to get hold of that information. It's quite insensitive to ask, really. I would not be surprised again if Aurier doesn't play on Sunday, although my expectations at the moment probably is that he will. The goal was his fault, and I can't paint that any other way, unfortunately, where he turns blind and kicks the thing away, which is okay if you don't think you've got time, but then you've got to lean back and get some height on it, mate. And yeah, it's disappointing. Otherwise, his performance was very steady, actually. Very steady. There wasn't too much of the overlapping. There was in the early parts of the game, but that calmed down quite a lot in the second half, which is okay, by the way. He did all right. I mean, under the circumstances, fair game to him. There must have been points where in the game where you can't explain it, where you're in the game and there's a moment you think like drink breaks and stuff. His mind must start to wander and stuff. So, like, fair game to him for going out there and putting the shift in. Paul H. Hi, James. Vardy, Kane, or Aubameyang for the last 2 games? That's likely, Paul, to be the easiest question that I'll have in this chat, and that is Aubameyang. You want Kane back after yesterday, do you? What, no one's been talking about his average position in the last 24 hours? Oh, why's that? Why is that? Why is that? Come on, guys. First good cross he's had since the restart. Bang. See you later, mate. Makes the counter-attack happen by himself by spinning on the halfway line back to goal, playing Lamella in, following up the play in injury time when people go, oh, he's knackered, he can't run, he ain't got no fitness no more. Who's there at the end? Listen, guys, Harry will score goals. Never, never, never doubt that Harry Kane will score goals. He just needs a little bit of help in getting there. Bergwijn and Lamella gave him that help on the 2 goals yesterday. What a cross from Bergwijn. Although I'd question Dubravka actually, because it's not a flat cross. It does go quite high. I think he should come and clatter Kane personally. But he absolutely buries the header, doesn't he? He buries both headers. Yeah, it's just nice to see him have something in front of him to go and attack rather than it being behind him, or he was involved in the link of the first goal. I must say as well, just briefly, just in case I forget, and we'll talk about this a bit tomorrow on Planet FPL. Lucas Moura was absolutely brilliant for the 53, 57 odd minutes that he was on for Spurs yesterday. I mentioned about his work rate against Arsenal, and fuck me, did he put a shift in again yesterday. Absolutely brilliant. Best player on the pitch, by the way, was Saint Maximin, and I'll talk about him a lot tomorrow, because if you've only seen the 5-minute highlights or match of the day, you'll think he did nothing. Man ran that football game. He is composure away from being top level. What a player he is. So let's do that Jeff Holt question. Hey, James, can you quickly put together a London 11 best? I'd go Hugo, personally. I still would. I think it's between him and Leno. And I would go Hugo. Right back, I'd go Azpilicueta, just over Reece James, I think. Left back is tougher. Genuinely is tougher. I think I would go Kieran Tierney. Centre backs, oh my God. Where do you start with them? My God. I'm tempted to start with Gary Cahill, actually. Centre backs, I mean, if they're at their best, they're very, very best, it's still Alderweireld and probably Vertonghen, but they're not. And the same applies to, you could say, if I said, right, who's capable of the best performances now from ability-wise? It's possibly Rudiger and David Luiz. Oh my gosh, that picking centre halves and London clubs at the moment, it's a car crash. I would go Alderweireld, and on form at the moment, Kurt Zouma. But I mean, wow, this really, really bad. Really bad. Gary Cahill was even worth a shout there, to be honest. Midfield. Kante. Probably would be all Chelsea, in fairness, probably. Kante. I'm a fan of Kovacic. He had a brilliant first half of the season, not so much the second, but I'd go, yeah, Kante, Kovacic. Let's go them 2 in a 2, and we'll play 4-2-3-1. Let's go... we go Aubameyang left. We have to go Son on the right, I suppose. We play Pulisic in the hole and Harry Kane up front. That sound all right? That's not bad, is it? Let's try that. Dominic Jervis, I'm 50 points behind main rival, best mate. He ain't much of a best mate, is he? What 2 attackers would you recommend for game week 37 to make a difference? I was looking at Salah and Wood. Yeah, like them, and Aubameyang, as already mentioned as well. Good shout. Depends what he's got, Dominic, right? I don't know what your mate's got. So, but yeah, I would really be aiming for different players to what he's got. Jesus, if you're ultra brave and he hasn't got, might be another one. Martin Boyle, afternoon all, rolling for 2 FTs, game week 38. Romantic him, he says, get in Dilver and captain him. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. There is a massive feeling with David Silva that it's going to be the last game at the Etihad, and he'll definitely play. I can see that. I can see that theory. However, they possibly got an FA Cup final the following week. Does Guardiola look at it and go, David Silva, Wembley, FA Cup final? Is that a nostalgia game? Would he even think Real Madrid would be the last possible game actually at the Etihad? We now know the game's going to be there. Could he think of it that way? Could he? I mean, like, we're not talking about a weak player here. We're not saying that Manchester City are worse with David Silva in the team, are we? I mean, he is still a little magician, isn't he? So I'm less convinced on this whole definite he'll play against Norwich thing to everybody else. It's not like there's no crowd there. So they've already said as well that they'll have a testimonial for him when crowds can go back. They'll bring him back and have a proper game for him and a proper send-off in front of a crowd, which older City fans are really going to want and stuff. And then, of course, if they beat Real Madrid, they've got a Champions League to try and win as well. So you could say, oh, Norwich is the last game, but actually, break it down, there might be another 5 games to go. So I'm not so much into the whole romanticism about this in the same way that other people are, actually. I don't know, like if they bring him off on the 80th minute or something to get the standing ovation, that, and you got a little tear in your eye, I think it's the last time you look around and no fuckers there. It doesn't mean anything really, does it? And it's not like he's not going to play for Man City in those final games. The romantic game might be to play him in Wembley in the final. I'm just saying, I don't know. Sam Thomas, thoughts on Aurier playing yesterday despite his awful news this week shows a lot about his character and commitment to Spurs. Yeah, I did cover that, Sam. I think you did get the question in fairness before I started covering that. Ray Kurashi, corner was too OP for Martinez to claim. I don't know what OP stands for, but yeah, I think I was probably being a bit harsh there. FPL Andy saying afternoon. You're welcome, Ray. No problem at all. Alan What Daddy, thinking back to the 2003-04 season, Porto were fantastic. Yeah, I know who the manager was. When do you think Jose changed his outlook on tactics, and do you see him ever going back to that? What do you mean by changed outlook of tactics? Has he ever changed? I think the worst thing he might be doing is trying to change. I enjoyed, actually, the game yesterday. I enjoyed the way Tottenham played for large parts. There was minimal direct balls. Generally, we played through them. That's how I want us to play. So it was an enjoyable game. It was a lot defensively that still needs improving. There was some tactical stuff which evolved a little bit, which I'll talk about on the podcast tomorrow. But yeah, it was all right. In terms of when did he change? Do you think Porto was some free-flowing superstar team or something? Well, they demolished Monaco in the final, but I don't know. Have you forgotten how they played, like in the semi-finals and stuff? Have you forgotten the performances against Deportivo in the semi-final? Was it that year? Was it Deportivo they played in the semi? I can't remember they beat in the semi now. Or Manchester United in the last 16, the running down the touchline at Old Trafford. Were they a free-flowing team? I don't think so. Benny McCarthy up front. They had good players like Deco and that. But no, I think Mourinho knows how to win big games, right? That's his greatest strength. His greatest strength is he's able to win big games, whether you think fortunate or not. And he's a manager that minimises in risk. I don't particularly think that's ever changed. I think Mourinho might be trying to change now in terms of getting a team that plays more football through centre of a pitch. It's noticeable that this whole Aurier carry-on of flying down the wing non-stop has changed over the last 3 games. And him and Ben Davies are playing similarly. Go and look back at the first goal last night. As Sonny steps back inside, Ben Davies is going past him on the outside to get up and support. That's where I wanted to see my fullbacks play. And it's not Ben Davies' strength, but I want them to play with balance. I want Tottenham to play with balance. Ian Wilson, Mourinho finding his groove, or Arsenal and Newcastle rubbish? Give us a breakdown of the game. A bit more tomorrow. Arsenal Liverpool did an Arsenal last night, basically. I think Arsenal are improving, right? And they've got a very good coach there, in my opinion, in Arteta, and he needs players to implement the way that he wants to play properly. That's going to take a long time. And I really think Arsenal fans need to chill the fuck out and relax and get behind this guy. Because I really think it's already clear to me that he knows what he's doing. The other things he will need to improve, right? He's going to learn as well. It's his first managerial job. He had a great shooter in Guardiola and actually before that in Wenger as well. So he knows what he wants to do. I think Arsenal fans should get behind him. Steve Bruce's comments after the game yesterday were a little bit concerning, I think, for himself. He looked like he was going to break down and cry and said he thought it was probably the best that Newcastle had played in lockdown, which makes me wonder, and I didn't watch the game, quite how bad Bournemouth were when Newcastle went there and tore them apart and won 4-1 and probably should have won 5 or 6-0. They had a lot of efforts yesterday, Newcastle, a lot of efforts on goal. But when you break it down, there weren't a lot that were threatening. And again, Spurs were far more clinical and efficient in what they did in front of goal. So a lot of long-range shooting from Newcastle and stuff. A lot of shots blocked or went flying over and stuff. Newcastle were in the game and made it an even contest purely on St. Maximin. Like, if that takeover doesn't happen, somebody's going to make a big bid for him. He is proper. He's different gear. He is the business, and he was running that game. You could see yesterday. He knew he was the best player on that football pitch. He knew it, and he loved it as well. By the way, Newcastle ordinary. What did they finish with? Newcastle, Brighton, and Liverpool. I mean, you wouldn't think about their assets or anything. Georgie Church, hi James. What do you think? Who scores more points in the last 2 game weeks, Jesus or Aubameyang? It's a tough one. It's a really tough one. That might depend a little bit on what happens with Villa today, because Villa effectively could be relegated basically if they lose today and the game between West Ham and Watford tomorrow doesn't go their way. Then they're nearly just about down. And in which case, I'd be very tempted to say Aubameyang. It could then be that by the time Arsenal play Watford in the final game, that Watford are also safe. That probably leans me towards saying Aubameyang, feeling more confident that having only played the half hour or so last night, that was his little break. And I did say that there would probably be one. I had fears that it would probably be the Villa game. But having had that little break last night for half hour, I think it's probably more likely now that he'll play the remaining games. So actually, I'd favour Aubameyang just. I wouldn't make a sideways move. For example, I've got Jesus, so I'm not changing that. I'm going to stick with it, I think. FPL Andy, good win last night. Yeah, we'll take it, mate. Little bit better. Jack Wilson, any changes you want for FPL next season? Now, I see a lot of this talk. Let's make vice captains double points and all this kind of shit and 1.5 points, or let's make benches available. You change your benches mid-game. These are all nice ideas, right? There's 7 million players playing, or what actually there's not. There's about 2 million players playing, and there's about a million other people who set up about 7 teams. So what you got to factor in is that it's a global game, and the more simple the game is, the better it is to be a global game. That's the reality. Look how many teams go dead after a certain amount of weeks, or look how many teams didn't get involved for the restart, right? Look how many people didn't understand about not using chips during lockdown. How many people, and these are people who are active in the Twitter community, for example, people who didn't know how the transfer system would work with unlimited transfers and free transfers when the game restarted. Again, these are active people on Twitter involved and regularly talking to FPL community members. So then picture that for someone on the outside who's got no access, doesn't have a Twitter handle, or doesn't follow the website or scout or content creators like myself or whatever. The game needs to remain simple for them, like it or not. That's the reality. And that's why the players are never going to be priced as highly as I would like. For example, Bruno Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne, 14 million next year, 13 million. Let people decide what they want to do with it. Because if it's both 10 million, then everybody's having both of them, aren't they? He's probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. I get that. But I would like to make the very, very best players in this game not very accessible. I would price Trent at 9 million or so. They will not. Jack Wilson, any changes you want? That's the one we just did. Dylan Farrell, what's up, James? How you keeping? Yeah, good, Dylan. No grumbles at all, my friend. Hope you're well. Jack Wilson, yes, have 7.7 million in the bank and can go Giroud to Aubameyang. Yeah, that's the move, I think, then, Jack. Wait till Saturday, though, mate, for goodness sake. FPL telling Josh, afternoon, James, result aside, were you pleased with the performance of Spurs last night? Yeah, touched on a little bit, so I don't want it to become a major Spurs thing, so I'll cover it again tomorrow. But yeah, there were things yesterday that I really liked, and there were things yesterday that I really didn't like, and I'll detail them tomorrow. Dylan Farrell, if you had to play one of Wood, Giroud, Silva or Zuma next game week, it's Wood, isn't it? Yeah, he definitely is Chris Wood. I didn't even really take much notice of the other names, actually. So Giroud and Zuma against Liverpool and Silva against Watford. Yes, Chris Wood all day long, mate. I'd have a strong opinion on that, yeah. I'd really like to buy him this week. He have a free transfer and don't know what to do with it. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is upgrading one of my bench because I still quite like my 11. And I upgrade the bench in case one of the guys gets injured in the semi-finals over the weekend or something. That's generally where I'm at. Because the change I really probably want to make is Maguire out to a budget and then a midfielder up to Martial. And I can't do it. And I'd probably do that for a -4, but I can't do it. I could, for example, go Jesus to Chris Wood and then go Traore up to Martial. That's a possibility. I might consider that sort of move as an alternative. I need to sit down and think about it. And those who've regularly been listening to me this season know I've been making no conclusions until the game weeks are finished. So, I mean, today it finishes for me because I'm no interested in West Ham or Watford assets for next game week. So that wouldn't particularly affect my opinion. Although, obviously, the two teams do play Manchester City and Manchester United respectively in 37. So there could even be something in that where they get certain defensive injuries or something like that. Or, I don't know, for example, Bowen and Antonio would both get injured. And then I think, well, fuck me, that Manchester United clean sheet for Maguire looks like a lock now. Do I want to take a -4 to get him out or something? So I need to, I mean, that move I've just said, Jesus to Wood and Traore to Martial. I can't do it actually, can I? Because I've only got, that would give me 4 Manchester United players. So there isn't an easy way for me to get to Martial. And I think I'll just end up upgrading something on my bench as cover, to be honest. Nick Griffith, is that a teletext mug? What game do you have on there? If so, I'll show it again quickly, Nick, for those who joined in a little bit late. So this is Arsenal and Tottenham from game week 15 of the Championship Manager Simulation, where Teddy Sheringham scored a last-minute winner against 10-man Arsenal that had Ashley Cole sent off, and I was streaming it live, and I very much enjoyed that moment and told a lot of Arsenal fans to fuck off. So Luke from Scout and a lot of the Championship Manager creators and viewers have chipped in to buy me that, which I'm very, very grateful and thankful for. Paul H. Holgate, good replacement for Taylor. I think I prefer the sideways. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, just break that down first of all and go Holgate versus Sheffield United or a sideways Burnley move against Norwich. I think it's Burnley, isn't it? And they both have decent final game fixtures. I think the sideways to Burnley's better. I think. Chris, oh, for fuck's sake, James, just finished uni in Brighton. Couldn't have done it this year, could you? Well, where are you now, Chris? Don't you want to go down and see some old uni mates or something? Make a weekend of it, pal. And Virapan, sorry if I butchered that, mate. Would you recommend Wood or Jay Rodriguez for the next game week as a one-week punt? My understanding is, and I might have this completely wrong, that Jay Rodriguez picked up a knock yesterday. I didn't watch the game. I was obviously watching Spurs. And then I watched Arsenal and Liverpool straight afterwards. So I'll be honest, I've not been on top of the news completely. But my understanding was that Jay Rodriguez might have picked up a knock. So keep an eye on Ben Dinnery's channels and others to see if that's true. But I would prefer Wood in any case, actually. Ray saying Brighton is just the one train, so I mean, yeah, it's it. All the London boys can come down to Brighton for a day. Listen, this is not happening anytime soon, by the way. It's a good chance it won't be this year. Dylan Farrell, can I just recommend everyone sign up? Thanks, Dylan. For the lads' Patreon, great value and some good chat in the Slack channel. Only downside is the draft league is a fix. Why is that, Dylan? Because I'm winning it. You were on there. You had the same draft picks that I could have had, mate. Yeah. And I've never played draft before, so what's going on there, Dylan? Joe Finley Batter, hi James. Meant to be bench boosting in game week 37, but Charlie Taylor's injury has killed me. Do I bench boost with 14 or take a hit for a defender who would play in 37 plus 38, 5.5 million in the bank? Go for it, Joe. Go one of the Burnley boys. Genuinely, don't overthink it. Just Peters or Barnsley. Obviously, you want to keep an eye on the news. If you're unsure on the status of Taylor, just go the other way and go for Bardsley. It's safe. It's a safe play, mate. Matthew Eziashi, afternoon, James. Still got free hit, thinking of using it in the next game week or save for the final game week. Now, this is an interesting question. Now, there's a lot of people. There's two ways of this. Because a lot of people now are going to be stuck with players that don't want it 37. And what I mean by that is a treble up on Chelsea, for example. Where if you've got the free hit left for one of the game weeks, it might make more sense to do it when they play Liverpool. But then do you even still want these guys when they play Wolves as well in game week 38? I'm not sure you do. That is a bad fixture for Chelsea. Let me tell you, that is a bad final day fixture for Chelsea. So in my opinion, you don't really want them for either. And that's another reason why I just left it. I knew that if I got one in, they'd be coming straight back out for me. So I think for those with Chelsea, you're in a difficult position either way. I think you're better off doing it in 38 because you're going in blind this week. You're going in blind. And what I mean by that is the fact that you have to make a decision on your team before you even know what these guys are picking in their FA Cup semi-final lineups. And you absolutely are going to want to have maximum coverage of Manchester City and Manchester United this game week. And it could go against you quite badly. Whereas I think in 38, you just have the benefit of more information. We know Rockstar's tweeted and said he won't have any team news in game week 38. It doesn't mean that other people won't do, for example. Whether you want to trust them or not, be my guest. I personally wouldn't go near them unless it was a very, very reputable Twitter source like we had with Heisenberg the other week, I think before game week 34 or 35, I forget. But he's someone I'd go, he ain't sent that out for shits and giggles. I know him. I trust him. Okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. I just wouldn't. I don't know enough about people. If you've got people you trust, crack on. I'll be using it in 38 personally, because then I've got the information of the fixtures, who's gone, who's played what fixture, etc., etc. And then if I get it wrong, the only person I can blame is myself. I can't blame what was out of my hands in terms of, I didn't think Guardiola would play this player against Arsenal, etc., and he played 90 minutes, or he goes for extra time and he plays 120 minutes. I've maintained, I don't think, and I said this prior to the game week's gone, and I think I said it prior to Man City's game with Brighton as well, that I think Jesus won't play the semi-final. That's my instinct. Just on how I think, tactically, Manchester City will want to set up in that game. I could be completely wrong, but if I'm right, I've got Jesus at the right time and I've got him for Watford and Norwich afterwards, and that's why he's a hang around for me. It could be I'm completely wrong. Jesus plays beyond 75 minutes, plays 120 minutes, misses the crucial penalty, his confidence is shot, and he doesn't even go to Watford. And that's life. And that's why, for me, I would now hold it for 38, unless what you have in your team fixture-wise looks much better for 38 than it does for 37. And I think for those stuck in a Chelsea problem, that may well be the case. I mean, if you've got Chelsea and Wolves, though, for example, who play each other in 38, and with Wolves playing Palace this coming game week, and I think a lot of people are going to be there where they've got 3 Chelsea plus, say, Doherty and Jimenez. You might have 5. I have seen teams with 5 from those 2 teams. You're definitely going to be better off free hitting in 38. Definitely. Good question, Matthew. I love you too, Gary Smith. No probs. Auto Recluse. Hey, James, how are things? Big Tasty's out for me. I'm thinking Lamptey could be the easiest move. So Lamptey was the cheap guy that I got in. Just thought, you know, if I ever need it, he's there, isn't he? Rather than the extra 0.1 for a 3.9. No intention particularly to play him because guessing the Brighton team is a fucking joke under Potter anyway. So he can just sit there third sub. He'll return at some point. I'll have to live with it. It's fine. The Lascelles one would be disappointing for people because I think on Tuesday, Bruce said that he was hopeful on Lascelles, the St. Maximin, and now I'm wrong. The other two obviously played, and I should say, sorry to clarify on what I said about St. Maximin earlier, it does look like he's picked up a knock as well, by the way. So he's likely out, possibly even for the season, but we might not know before the deadline, so don't go near him as an FPL asset. But then, yeah, you find out Lascelles had an operation yesterday. Oh, that's helpful. Thanks for that. Yeah, Lamptey's a good shout to bring in, but not if it's to be a starter, I don't think. Good luck guessing if he's going to play or not. I'd rather go safer with Burnley, guys, if you can go that little bit more, mate. Vizwanaf says, how do you rate Brazil's Ronaldinho entire football career? Probably the footballer that made me smile more than any other. An absolute joy in his Barcelona period. Yeah, he was the sort of footballer you go out your way to watch. I was blessed to see him play at Tottenham as well for Brazil in a friendly against Wales. When I'm pretty sure he was still with Barcelona, but he was still at his peak either way. Brilliant footballer. Not in the elite level for me. Not in the elite level. Cristiano and Lionel and stuff like that. Just a little bit underneath. If somebody wanted to name me a best ever world 11 that they've seen in their lifetime and Ronaldinho was in it, I would have no problems with that. Exceptional footballer. He'd be borderline for me. So good. Graham S, #1 in the world, still has free hit and second wild card. Can you imagine being in that position? I don't think I'd want to be. You've literally got no one to blame if you fuck it up from here. But I mean, yeah, that's an incredible position to be in. Which one would you play first? I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? But yeah, it really doesn't matter how you do that. It doesn't make any difference at all. Good luck to him or her. Really good luck to them. Alistair Coper, hi James. Which 6.5 million defender would you get for a 1 week punt? I'm thinking Doherty. Yeah, no brainer there, mate. Especially after the benching yesterday. Great assist he got yesterday as well, wasn't it? Fuck me, what a goal from Jimenez. Yeah, Doherty against Palace as well. No brainer, mate. Yeah, that's the best call. Sam Cole, hi James. Who's your captain tonight for Sky? It'd almost certainly be Bruno, mate. I'm going to go safe on this one. I just had a bad week or so in it, but I can't complain because it had been very good for me since the restart. So, Gary Smith, you're entitled to laugh, but Hugo's got his World Cup winners medal that he'll show you, mate. And captain of a World Cup winning team, by the way. Garang Barot got Salah and Mane, didn't perform well, but wanted to keep next 2 game weeks. Am I crazy or is it a good decision considering the defence of Chelsea and Newcastle? Nothing's crazy in this game, mate, and it's absolutely fine. Rudy says, sell Sterling for Son. No. Look, Son is still a Spurs asset you can go for, right? But if you're looking for the recommendation to go and buy Spurs players, you will not get it from me. Son has scored again yesterday. Good goal. I think it literally went in the ball width of the only place it could go into the net. And I think Dubravka should do a little bit better, although not helped by the fact that it went through, I think it was Yedlin, went through his legs, which always gives goalkeepers a problem because they have to react slightly later and it can be the key difference. But recommend him? Nah. I had people treating me last night going, Spurs firing now, so they're playing 4-4-2 again. And the only thing I responded to a couple of people was, you didn't watch the game. And the reason I said that to him is, we didn't play 4-4-2. And then I got people showing me heat maps. Yeah, he did. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Some played back on the left yesterday. And this is the danger when you look at data of average touch position. It's a danger. It can give you false information i.e. particularly people like Harry Kane doing lots of defensive headers from corners and set pieces in their own penalty box when you concede 6 or 7 corners in the first half or so, and Harry Kane happens to head the fucking majority of them away. Yeah, it's going to affect his average touch position. Son's starting position was completely different from the Arsenal game. I have sympathy in the fact that the majority of you will have watched the Manchester City game, which is the choice that you should have made, by the way, as a neutral fan. But no, Son played on the left yesterday. Please don't be confused about that. Please don't be confused as well when you see that Lo Celso had a higher average touch position than Moussa Sissoko. And when I explain to you tomorrow that Moussa Sissoko started as a number 10 for Tottenham yesterday. This is the danger with just looking at data like that, because that data is not going to give you the whole picture. Now, the flip of that is Moussa Sissoko going to play at 10 for Tottenham again? No. Am I going to explain to you tomorrow that that only happened for the first 20, 25 minutes or so? Yes. Yes, I am. And then it changed. And then he played alongside Lo Celso and Winks went deeper and the formation changed, which I'll explain tomorrow. That's the problem with data. If it's raw data like X player had 7 shots on target, that's factual. But then dig in a bit closer. So if you want to look at, say, St. Maximin yesterday, who I've said was brilliant, you can have a look at how many shots he's had. And I don't know the answer to this. You might find it's a lot. But what's the quality of those chances? Not good. Make sure if you're looking at data like that you understand what the data is that you're looking at. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff annoying me with data at the moment and people's lack of interpretations of them. No, I would not sell Sterling for Son. Absolutely no chance. No chance. Richard Roman, hi James. I'm thinking about changing Vardy for Kane for a hit. False. I'm not going to advise you to buy Spurs players. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. Son is the only one I would recommend to go and get. Kane, if this isn't going to help you, has a very, very good goal scoring record against Leicester. Very good. Rob Warnock, good day all. No questions for me as I'm going to head back to start and undoubtedly hear all the answers. No real points to this post, I guess. That's okay. Rob, Jeff Holt, the 70s was my era of growing up with football, so a lot of my heroes are from then. Which 70s players do you wish you had seen play? Oh, there's probably a few more from the 60s who would have still been about in the 70s. So like Jimmy Graves would have been towards the end of his career then, and George Best. I think in the 70s themselves, my dad, who's obviously a Spurs fan, always speaks very highly of Charlie George, who scored the winner for Arsenal in the 71 Cup final, said he was a magician of a footballer. I think people like Rodney Marsh at Manchester City would have been fun. Even to go lower, people like Tony Curry. A lot of good players of that era. Keegan, I guess, the great Liverpool team of that era. The great Leeds team of the 70s, to see some of them. If you ever want to dig out a game of highlights from the 70s, which I've seen a few times over, you can only find about 10 minutes of, I think. But have a look at a game where I think Leeds beat, I think it was Southampton 7-0 around about 1973. And Leeds keep the ball for a ridiculous amount of time. But this is not like the Manchester City keep the ball that you would see now. These guys are pulling flicks on like nearly every pass. It's astonishing little bit of footage. If you can find that, Jeff, maybe see if you can find that. I'm sure you know about it, but that's an astonishing little bit of footage to try and find if you want to find some nostalgic footage. FPL Andy, opinions on Claude being removed from, I knew this was going to come up, from AFTV, definitely after his racist comments. Do you think Troop should receive similar punishment, and do you think Robbie should take blame for the apology? I think what's happened here is Claude's made a massive fuck up. All right, there's no bones about it. He's made a massive fuck up, and they've then tried to put it out as it's an in-joke between Arsenal and Tottenham and a period 15 years ago where, if actually that's an exaggeration, 10 years ago, where if we beat them, yeah, Spurs used to knock about a DVD about, and they released a DVD to say, here's the game with Spurs Arsenal. And Arsenal fans used to take the piss out of it because we'd have a DVD of the match season and they're still there watching their fucking 49 games unbeaten on a DVD, right? So it was a bit of a piss take where Arsenal fans were, yeah, we're still better than you, etc. That was always, and all right, fair enough. I think Spurs fans deserve that bantering from Arsenal fans. It's fine. The DVD relation, anybody in London will know it's fairly ghastly to people of East Asian descent. And in this period under Black Lives Matter, etc., the message is beyond the Black Lives Matter. We obviously know that. I hope everybody in this chat knows that. But it is also about, that everybody does. And it's about prejudice in general has to die from our society. And comments like that, what's happened there with Claude is a comment that would have been acceptable in a fucking boozer in Holloway Road 15 years ago, between him and his Arsenal mates, and they would have had a laugh about it. And I'm not going to pretend I haven't heard similar comments from Tottenham fans down the years, by the way, either. But this has changed now, and your man has forgot. Yeah, he's with his mates. He's forgot there's a fucking camera on him. Bad move. For Robbie to try and cover it up, I could not believe it. I could not believe it. Thankfully, the pressure was insurmountable. I wouldn't even mind. The fact that he's been removed from the channel, I don't even think that's right. I think what would have been better, because I tell you what, that guy, Claude, he's one of the better spoken ones on Arsenal fan TV. And there's a video where he said in the summer where like mentally he wasn't in a great place. So don't think we should necessarily be butchering this guy. What this guy needs is education. And I think what would have been better is to turn out afterwards and go, this is a massive mistake, right? What we want to do here is help him out and help educate him. Let's be honest, right? Arsenal's fan base is one of the most diverse. You'll see more black Arsenal fans than many other football clubs. They have a big diverse. Same for Arsenal and Tottenham. There's big diversity in the fan bases of both football clubs. Certainly more than others, anyway, in comparison. And even Arsenal fan TV, they're of all ethnicities, right? So I think it should just be a case of, right, let's educate here. Let's say, let's go wrong. And I think what would have been better would be to come out and go, I really apologize. I didn't realize this was offensive. I now need educating to make me understand. Because if you're not educated, I'm not going to pretend that 15 years ago, I didn't say things that were completely inappropriate in and outside a football ground. Now I like to think I'm educated to an extent I can go, that's right, that's wrong. This was wrong. But I don't think he knew that that was wrong. That's the point. I don't think he knows that that's wrong, and he needs education, needs help. And that's the case for a lot of people. And I actually think the better way to go wouldn't have been to say we're banning him indefinitely. The best thing would have been to say is, look, we're going to keep him off the channel for the rest of this year, for example, and we're going to get him some help. That's a better way of handling things at the moment. I think for Robbie's someone who obviously will have suffered racist abuse himself. We know that from supporters of his own club and other clubs. And I think he's all right, actually. I think he's all right. But he's let himself down here massively. Massively let himself down. It was pleasing as well to see Arsenal fucking smashing them out the park last night as well and saying, we condemn this, from so-called Arsenal fans. And listen, Robbie's a proper Arsenal fan. Don't have that mistaken. On troops, look, as a white person, I'm not offended by it. So I don't know. There might be some that are. I think it's a little bit bandwagonish. He said white privileges, and to be honest, it's part of the fact at the moment that, you know, there is a wide held belief that white people do get more privilege than others. And perhaps I need further education to understand if that isn't or is the case. I suspect, yeah, it is. As a white person, it's very difficult for me to be able to see that sometimes, and I respect that. Was I offended by what Troop said? No. Is he a complete, utter fucking prat? Yeah. But no, I wasn't offended by it. And I think that's people trying to jump on it when I don't think it was a racist remark. I think it was something more in relation to how society is at the moment, actually. And a little bit of anger has come out from him at the moment, the way the football game's going as well. I think that's very different to what Claude did, which he's watching a man leave a football pitch and makes reference to him. It's not right. And then to lie about it, should have just said I didn't understand what I was saying, and it's made things worse. Anyway, that's enough on that. I'm never going to get through all these questions now, am I? Fucking, I knew someone was going to ask that, and I knew I was going to spend way too long on it. Sorry, guys. Oh, dear. Good question, Andy. Thanks, mate. It certainly caused some debate, didn't it? Me and Sush don't have to cover it on the podcast now. I've just done it. J23, transfer out Vardy after tonight's game. Don't have much hope for Leicester. Yeah, I'd probably recommend. I'm going to fire through these guys. So I'll be honest, if you ask a question now, I might not get to it. Ray says, James, early planning for next season. Which 5 players would you definitely bring in? For me, it's TAA, KDB, Mane, Bruno, and Jimenez. Yeah, I wouldn't stray far from that, but you're going to do well to afford all 5 of them, mate. It's price dependent, isn't it? I would be setting myself an opinion now. What price am I happy to pay for these 5 players, and at which point do I walk away? If they're that important to you, start thinking about it. What price would I not pay for player X next season? Because if KDB's 13 million, then I need to make a serious choice. If he's 12 or 12.5 million, I think he's coming with me. At 13 million, I think I've got a choice to make. And I don't think he will be 13 million. It doesn't particularly matter. But Jimenez is a very good example. At which point do you go, this is not a price I would pay? If he's 10 million, are you buying Jimenez? Again, I don't think he will be. But if he's 10 million, are you buying him? It's a different conversation then, isn't it? Hello to Linguistic Llama. Jack Wilson, do you think because Sky is more complex, that's why less people play? I don't think it necessarily is more complex, actually. I just think it's not well known. It's not as well known. And I think you have to win that game, you have to be engaged every day. You have to be engaged every day. There's football anyway. So it's probably that, where it is a more of a daily game, where actually, yes, for a lot of us, we'll think about FPL every day. But for a lot of people around the world, it's, oh, right, it's 2 hours to FPL deadline. I'll pick my team. And trust me, that's what the majority of people do. Oh, it's Friday night. Oh, I'll set my FPL team for tomorrow. Listen, that's how most people are. And that's the difference. With Sky, you've got to make choices every day that there's games. And that's why. And I also think Sky haven't publicised it much, actually, to be very honest. It's winnable. It's winnable. One of my ambitions for next season is one of my patrons to win that Sky game. I genuinely think it's possible. I've got some very good Sky players on our Patreon channel. Shout out as well to obviously to Luke and to Joe and the Hub guys, to Paul at Sky Play and FPL, who we wouldn't be playing the game otherwise, who's obviously shown us, I wouldn't say how to play, but kind of point us in the right direction of where to start. And a shout out to those other guys who are providing great Sky content as well. And I keep forgetting to do that on my Sky podcast, and it keeps fucking annoying me. And I feel bad because I know particularly the Hub boys always give us a shout out as well. Brendan01, hi James, do you think Nketiah is more likely to start away to Villa than at home to Watford? I have a bench boost and can't ship him out as I've other problems. Well, Villa's the first game after the ban, isn't it? So they'd expect him to play a Villa game. That would be my opinion. T-Tac, who the most Spurs... I wouldn't be surprised if he plays both, by the way. T-Tac, who the most Spurs fans refuse to admit the youth... Oh, sorry. Why do most Spurs fans refuse to admit the youth system isn't great? I don't know if that's the case. There's no kids really coming through at Spurs at the moment. I think these last ones, sort of Winks, Tanganga... sorry, Skip is a better reference rather than Harry Winks. Are probably the last 2 that there'll be for a while, I think. So no, I wouldn't have a problem admitting that. I mean, Troy Parrott, I guess, but he's already played for the first team, so I kind of semi a part of it. But yeah, I don't have a problem admitting that for the quality of the training ground and the coaches that have been down there and stuff, that Spurs, for whatever reason, have not been producing the youth talent that they should have been. That needs to change. It needs to change quickly. That's really important for Spurs. Spurs can't spend the money of other people. So if they can find someone like a Mason Greenwood all of a sudden, then that's going to save a lot of fucking money, isn't it? Martin Boyle, FFP is dead, isn't it? Jesus Christ, this stream's going to be 3 hours long. Possibly. I'll be very honest, I've not had time to read the whole statements on Manchester City yet. However, it's been ruled by judges, jury, whatever they are, that not guilty, and the fine is what seems to have got people a little bit confused. But the fine is for failing to comply with UEFA, with information, basically. That doesn't mean that there was necessarily wrongdoing. Now, a lot's changed since me and Suj recorded that podcast back in February, I think it was, about the ban and the information that we sourced. But a lot of the stuff that UEFA tried to pin on Man City was stuff that we knew that had already passed. And City were cleared of what we suspected was the funneling the money from outside sources, which they've been cleared of, as it's not substantial proof that that was the case, where I think sponsorship money from the Etihad was more than, they were signing off more than what was reality. It was kind of rumoured and stuff. And I think they've been cleared of that. And I think that was probably the number one thing. In terms of FFP, is it dead? I don't think we can answer that right now, Martin, because if Manchester City genuinely have done nothing wrong here, and that's what they've been proven as doing nothing wrong, then they've done nothing wrong. And we probably shouldn't overread too much into that. I suspect, my personal opinion, is that UEFA just fucked this up badly, because there's no organisation that's probably more bent than them other than FIFA themselves, right? So, and I think that's the problem. You want to go and attack Man City? We'll attack you back because you ain't no better. FPL Andy, weekend in Brighton sounds like a plan. Dylan Farrell, just looking in the draft, James. You're smashing it, mate. Fair play. Really enjoying my first one too. Yeah, good fun, isn't it? Sean Thompson, think you answered this already, but was looking at Obi-Wan and Pulisic to Peters and Martial for a -4. Yeah, quite like that. Alistair Coper, have you done a free hit draft for game week 38? Yeah. No, mate. Wouldn't even bother till game week 37 literally finished. Well, at least till it started. Wouldn't even bother, mate. So much information. Give yourself headspace trouble that you don't need to give yourself headspace trouble. I know that's when I'm using it. 37 is not best for me. It might be for other people. That's okay. Nah, I wouldn't even begin to think about it till probably after I've watched Manchester City on Tuesday, I shouldn't think. And I'm streaming Tuesday night, so after that game. So I probably won't even think about it till Wednesday at the earliest, mate. Cole Norbury, hi James, glad I caught your stream. I was looking forward to your Ask James stream today, thinking it was the usual Friday stream. The reason I moved it from the Fridays to today is so me and Suj can do the reviews on a Friday and include the Thursday games, right? That's why we've shifted it about. It will probably go back to Fridays for next season, but that's possibly a little bit dependent on whether I do my deadline streams or not. If I continue to do the deadline streams, then it might be better that I shove this to earlier in the week, possibly. Talk about stuff in midweek. So there's a jump for the YouTube viewers to get involved or not. So I'll see how it plays out once we finish this season. Paul Meehan, morning chat. Morning, James. Slept in a bit and missed the start. It's okay, mate. You can always rewind it. Jack Wilson, Pope or Hendo for England, #1. Henderson for me, mate. Ian Wilson, have you seen Jimenez goal? Unreal technique. What a goal, mate. Matthew Azishi, cheers, James. Thanks for the detailed summary regarding free hit. No problem. Martin Boyle, on the earlier question, FPL should get rid of the bench, in my view, and by extension, bench boost chip. Put that money into the start 11, which facilitates the Trents at 9 million, KDB, Bruno, 14 million, etc. My opinion with that is Martin will all have the same fucking team, mate. Never even worse than it is now. Cole Norbury, everyone would have a very similar 11, Martin, different. Yeah, there you go. Callum Stokes, free hit 38 for me means a 1 week gamble in 37, thinking Wood in for Greenwood if he is injured. Otherwise, Trossard in and bench one of KDB Mahrez. Oh. Any other 1 week punch you like? I don't like Brighton, mate. I don't. Do you know what? I'd only pick a Brighton player if they didn't start tonight. Genuinely. It's the only ones I'd pick, is ones that didn't play tonight. Other than if you wanted like Ryan Duncan Webster's fine. I even said Burnley the other week. Burn didn't play against. Was it Liverpool? I think it was Liverpool he didn't start against. Yeah, I would only pick a Brighton player if they didn't start. So if you're saying like a Conley or Morpay, if they started tonight, I'd be like, right, I ain't buying them. I've got more chance of playing if they don't play tonight. You can never guess what his team's going to be. Never guess. So just an avoid from me. Do your head in. And you might get it right and it might work out, and good luck to you. But yeah, Trossard in and bench one of a KDB or Mahrez. No, that's not for me, mate. B-Buzz at 890. Thoughts on having 2 FTs for game week 38? Nailing the free City assets could be crucial. Yeah, it could. It's absolutely fine. Hulep Bondrachova. Loris was arguably the worst starter in that World Cup team. Watch football, dude. I like it, mate. Yeah. Was he the worst member of that France team? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that. You ever heard of banter, mate? Martin Boyle, not really. Everyone puts 4.5s on the bench. Martin saying Sky FF has no bench, so similar squads. Yeah, everybody's got similar squads in Sky, I think, Martin. FPL Fanatic, which was your favourite FPL season? Any particular standout memory from it? The one before we did the podcast, I was like 7K with 2 game weeks to go, but I refused to have Spurs players. And obviously Kane went off like mad, didn't he? It didn't turn out too badly for me because I had Sanchez as well, but I finished at like 20K. But not having Kane and a few others killed me. And I had a great bench boost, but I still dropped massively. Yeah, so it'd be that. And in game week 38, I just died on my ass with Kane's hat-trick at Hull and stuff, where nearly everybody had him as captain, and I didn't have him at all. So, but that was a really good season. And then obviously doing the podcast, it's all enjoyable now. Cole Norbury, I'll get skip them comments. As he says, thanks for clearing that up. Didn't know what DVD meant and why it was deemed racist. Yeah, look, I'm not going to define it here and now. Some fucking dickhead will fucking chop it up and put a gif out of me saying it or something. I've got to be careful when I'm doing it on video as well. But yeah, particularly it's well known within London to be like, nah, man. Coolio 2 Foots, yeah, best thing was to dress the ACB. This is referring back to Arsenal fan TV. Azzy, have you met Expressions? No, don't particularly want to either. He's a character. His video of himself in the Gilpin, I know it's the Gilpin because I've been there during the Champions League semi-final against Ajax, is well worth a watch. It's funny. And he does love the club and he comes up with some mad ass stuff. Might meet him at the Football Content Awards. I'd obviously say hello on that. I would not fucking want him sitting next to me in the ground though. That's a certainty. As he says, need to sell Pulisic, but for who? Similar bracket. This is a tough one because I need to get towards that kind of bracket myself. I'm going to look at that before tomorrow's podcast, as he said. There might be some names I'll throw in there for you. Carl Norbury, is your favourite Spurs partnership any position, Toby and Jan, or another from any era? Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, actually, Carl. Yeah, the two of them at centre-half. Magnificent. In 15, 16 and 16, 17. Storm Legacy, good enough, James, trust you well. Exactly the concept I signed for. Level-headed perspective, AFTV thing anyway. Enough of that. Yeah, Jeff Hole. Waffle's YouTube channel with Leeds v Saints looks like huge amount of vintage games there. Yeah, send me a link, DM me or something, Jeff, and then I'll send it out to people later. Jimenez is a strange one. He didn't get the rise expected this season. Well, remember, it's only 5.5 million to start last season, so he did have a bit of a jump. But yeah, he was cheaper than I expected this season. Yeah, when I saw the prices come out, originally I was like, right, I'm starting with Jimenez and Jota because I couldn't believe they were still at those prices. But yeah, I still didn't start with either. It was a lot of fixture related. Perlas Ben, have you spoken about picks for free at 38? Defense looks a bit tricky. Yeah, it will do, mate. But yeah, listen, as I'm going to be on it, I'll certainly cover it over the next 7 to 8 days or so. Jack Wilson, do you prefer Sky or FPL? I'm beginning to prefer Sky, and that's not a lie, Jack. Aviz, it might feel a bit odd for new FPL season beginning so soon and bringing in players at a totally new price. Prices of some of them players we know by heart. Also, position changes. Jack Wilson, will the new FPL game come out for you reckon? When do I reckon? Well, I'm intending to take a week off between the 10th and 14th of August, and I'm not even going to pick my phone up for a week. So I'm hoping 17th of August would be great to begin Planet FPL Series 4. Ray says, finally joined the Patreon, James. Hype for the content. Good man, Ray. I'll get in touch with you later today, mate. Joe Jenkins, best 1 week midfielder punt, under 7 million for game week 37. You want a real punt? A real punt. Goodmanson of Burnley. Peter's likely to go to left back to cover him for Taylor. Goodmanson's now made 2 sub appearances, comes in for the Norwich game, goes mental. You want a punt? I can't give you a much bigger one than that. His ownership will be next to 0 live. Is he the best? I probably need to think about that a bit more, Joe. But there's a punt for you. Ian Wilson, thoughts on Wigan Hull? I'm a Saints fan and was really hoping they'd score 10s. People would start shutting up about the fucking 9-0. I do feel a bit sorry for Saints that, and to be fair, we've been guilty of it as well. We keep mentioning the 9-0 rather than the very good results they've had since. All we keep saying is, the change around is remarkable. He's doing great. Unfortunately, it's going to stick. It's difficult not to mention the 9-0 when you say how well you've progressed in the last, I guess it's 9 months or so now. That's why you don't want to ever lose a game by that score, mate. And Wigan getting 10 would not have changed anything, mate, because it wasn't the Premier League game. Man City got 10 against Huddersfield in the late 80s in the second tier, and nobody talks about it, mate. So Gary Robinson, Jack Wilson will need to play off the final new fixtures first, mid-August earliest. Yeah, that's in reference to FPL restart. Callum Stokes has just covered a good game week 37 punt. I think like Burnley forwards are really interesting. FPL Fanatic, hope Josie gives United a late parting gift by defeating Leicester. Who has been worse, James, Leicester or Spurs? Well, since the restart, let me look at Leicester's games as a refresher. Fuck me, it's probably them. Yeah, that's not going to be a classic on Sunday. I can tell you that now. The best game on Sunday to watch will be Bournemouth and Southampton. Right, just the last couple to get through, guys. Tom Bolton, Wood seems a decent 37 punt. Any concerns about him being rested after a hard 90 plus versus Wolves? Or are Burnley so strapped to players? I shouldn't worry. Don't worry, mate. I don't think there's a concern there. Callum Stokes, armband on Bruno at the moment for 37. Possibly. One of the things I'm thinking at the moment for a free hit 38 is Suj has still got Bruno captain tonight, and he's beaten me by 5 points this game week as well. He's going to extend the lead. So it might be I just need to stay with the 37 and keep it winnable in 38 in terms of my head-to-head with him. And one of the things I'm thinking in 38 is doing a free hit team that has none of his players. So it might not even be my first choice free hit, but literally just going, there's your 11 players. I'll pick 11 players for the one game week who I think's got a shot at beating you. That might be how I play it. I need to think about that. Thanks, Jeff. Zed's a Hill. These FPL deadlines are a joke. For the last 2 weeks, I missed all the deadlines. It's fairly clear. Callum Stokes' opinion on handball last night on Doherty, then one not given against Silva, coming from a very bitter Wolves fan. I think that was a really difficult one last night and could have gone either way. I think having given it, the VAR is not going to change it. So on this one, I'm not going to particularly criticise them. There is one angle where there is quite a distance between Wood and Doherty. Now, if that's the angle that Mike Dean has seen, then I think he's made the right decision. I think if he's looked at any of the other possible angles, then to him, it really should look like high feet. You know me, I'm not really indecisive on these ones. And I've watched that one a few times and I'm not sure. And therefore, I'm liable to go with, that's what the referee gave. I'm okay with it. I think it's a really 50-50, that one. I'm not sure. I'm going to watch it a few more times later and see if my opinion changes. FPL Fanatic, thank you, brother. Was fun. No problem. Azzy, have you been disappointed with Trent since the restart? I think we've all generally been quite disappointed with Liverpool since the restart, but I have no fault selling Trent ahead of game week 37. And my Leicester correspondent, Aaron Lego, is in. He says, hey, mate, Leicester v Spurs prediction for Sunday. Not looking forward to it personally. Neither am I. 1-1 would be my prediction for the game. We'll end with that. In terms of content, me and Suj will do a full review of the 9 games of this game week 36. We will record that early tomorrow, get it out for you early to lunchtime, late morning, early afternoon, as soon as we can, depending on how good the sound quality is. We'll get it out as soon as possible for you. Patrons, you will have a full game week preview of personal final thoughts on 37. Differentials, north v south, thoughts in terms of predictions for the games over the weekend, etc. And you also should now have on Patreon a new podcast, a quiz from today, 20 questions on FA Cup semi-finals in the Premier League era. No pressure, but Suj hasn't done too badly. There are some easy questions, there are some tough ones. Ray, depending on what tier you signed up on Patreon, you can go and listen to that podcast now. Thanks very much for listening today, guys. I want to disappear because I realise I've been going for well over an hour now. Thanks very much. If I don't speak to you beforehand, good luck this game week, and speak to you all soon, very soon. For the benefit of the audio, cue music, please, man child.